So let's discuss those details now with Maudi Lentsoane, who is standing by. As I mentioned in my intro, Maudi, a very busy economic week ahead. But before we get into the private sector extension and the electricity that's been distributed in the period, a big figure that's going to be coming out is quarterly unemployment figures. It has not been a good look since the advent of the pandemic. And I suppose we should expect that the unemployment picture will be getting worse in the numbers that will be released this week.
Good morning, Rafiu, and good morning to your viewers. Of course, the unemployment number is certainly one of the important data that's going to be released this week, as you correctly said. It's the number, as we all know, that is quite big on the South African agenda. That number has been getting out of control. We saw the previous figure, climbing to about 34%, of the unemployed population, almost now slowly getting closer to that 8 million people who are without their job. And when you dig deeper into that number, the topical issue is around the youth unemployment, which surpassed the 60% of the youth that is unemployed. And of course, that's a worrying data. It's going to be really, that's a number that we need to bring down if we are to, to change the fortune of our country. So the figure is unfortunately expected to continue to deteriorate. The survey by economists is expecting that number now to jump to above 35%. That's going to be a worrying factor, and a number of reasons. I mean, we've had the July, unrest. We've had, the electricity crisis, stoppages from Eskom, and those are some of the factors that are contributing into, the continued deterioration of our economic environment.
Absolutely. And we'll also see, and I always say this is a good indicator of the health of the consumer, vehicle sales data also coming out this week. There have been slight improvements, Maudi, but we are still relying quite a bit on the exports, and the domestic market still a little bit sluggish when it comes to buying new cars.
No, certainly. I mean, the domestic market, as I said, correctly reflects just the bad environment that our economy is in. Not many people will be rushing out to go and buy a new car in this environment. I think, if anything, where there is a continued, activities within the, second-hand market, which has continued to see quite a recovery and an increase, and understandably so, because I think, with the new vehicles, there are a number of issues involved. One, also just getting all those, importing all those chips, from overseas, supply chains impact due to the pandemic, but also the fact that I think as a new, just the affordability on the brand new cars is also one that the South African consumer is just not able to meet. The environment, which is the lower interest rates environment, has been allowing for that steady growth, but we still have far, cry from the level of, before the pandemic.
Here's a number I personally don't look at very often, Maudi, the data on electricity generated and distributed. But I'm thinking these are going to be interesting numbers given the lack of generation and distribution that Eskom has been responsible for the last few months. And this is quite important, Maudi, because it speaks to business confidence. Businesses must know that they've got basic resources to operate in South Africa, and this number tells them that.
No, you're certainly right, because, if we as a country cannot guarantee, the consistent supply of electricity, then it impacts almost on all the other, important, sectors in terms of the growth and the future of the economy. So, for example, if you can't guarantee that you're going to supply, enough electricity, you're not going to see much in terms of the business confidence boost. You're not going to see much in terms of the new businesses being created. As a matter of fact, I mean, you talking to a number of entrepreneurs, they will tell you, in the past couple of months, they've had to actually close down on some of their businesses. And this is primarily one of the big factors that keeps coming up, is the fact that I've had to, shut down because of load shedding. Load shedding has got a severe impact on our economy. And we cannot overemphasize the importance of turning that situation around. And this, of course, as the government tries to, encourage the other, private sector to also generate their own electricity. So we will see exactly how the numbers look like, and an improvement. It's one that we'll be looking forward to. Failing which, I think we'll continue to have the serious challenges as an economy.
Very interesting insights there, Maudi Lentsoane. Thank you. They're talking about the economic week ahead, and a very important point there, the very last one, about independent power production. That is where the country needs to move. It's the direction that we need to be taking. Unfortunately, it's not taking off fast enough.